when you first got your first
My
salaries
first
or your first,
paycheck.
what are the kind of things that you were thinking about?
Do you know, I had no idea about money or value for it. I bought myself such a big watch, bigger than my wrist almost, at Timex. My first paycheck from the judiciary after tax was $226.50.
Yeah.
The basic salary for a member of parliament in 1993 January, that's when I entered parliament,
Yeah.
was 5,000 shillings. We went in stages. The first 5 years, our money was added to 50,000 to 70,000. By the end of the first term, we were on 100 something already. If the thing is just to make money, for the sake of it, I can make it even now.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'm still busy chasing to see a better organized Kenya.
Yeah.
That has been my calling.
Before the money.
Yeah, not
Okay.
money. Yeah. I will keep coming back because there's always a solution to something. I'll be down, but not out.
Yeah.
And I'll keep coming back. Yeah. And that's me.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Financially Incorrect. I hope your year is going great. As usual, this podcast is proudly sponsored by FXpesa. If you'd like to learn about trading, please do check the links out in the description box, and you'll be able to either open a demo account, you'll be able to learn, you'll be able to open a full trading account and get access to the global financial markets.
If your partner never found out, would you cheat, just once for $10 million?
For $10 million. You know, hey guys, welcome to our channel.
My name is Jules.
My name is Barak.
We are here today because we have something really dope coming up on the 29th of March. It's a first time ever event of its kind. It's not a regular podcast show, live event where you just come and we do a live podcast show on stage. This is different. We're calling it the Love and Money Festival, something that people have not experienced in regards to podcasts, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Nobody teaches you about love. Nobody teaches you about money. But as an adult, they're two of the most important things you need to succeed in this life.
Yeah, exactly. Very critical.
Yeah.
Relationships, connections with others, and how to manage your finances.
Show me your messages to your ex.
Okay.
Are you deleting? Don't delete anything.
I'm just taking a screenshot. How much money do you actually have in your bank account right now? Screenshot, or it didn't happen?
Actual money in my bank account
Right now.
My current account right now, I believe, has 56,000 shillings right now.
Where's your phone? Let's check. Let me confirm this. Actual balance, 57,716 shillings and 65 cents. But this is not all the money you have in the world, right?
No, you asked me what's in my current account.
Okay.
That's what's in my current account. What if it's all the money you have in the world? How much does your current partner earn?
Why does it have to be my partner?
And
What if
do
I'm
you
single?
feel it's enough for the life you want to get?
Oh.
Today, as usual, we have with you a really interesting and hopefully really interesting money story that we're bringing to you. I have read her book that was released, I believe, last year. I read it cover to cover in one sitting. It was a really interesting read for someone who hasn't been akin to politics and the political, history of this country. It was some really, really good insight that I got from the book. Please welcome to Financially Incorrect, Honorable Martha Karua.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. I guess my first questions will be a bit left field, sort of different. What's the best Valentine's gift you've ever received or given?
You know, Valentine is not a local tradition.
Yes.
It's some things we've been picking. Maybe a rose.
A rose.
And from my children.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Do you ever remunerate? You know how I guess there's these love languages. Do you know your love languages, and is gifts one of them?
I should think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just want to say that Valentine wasn't a big deal as I grew up. These are things, including things like Halloween, things we are picking along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've just come to hear of Valentine and hear people making big of it. in my adulthood.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, what do you think about people spending lavish amounts of money on a Valentine's Day? So, for example, if someone was to try and impress you with spending a lot of money on a specific day that's accorded for love, would that be something that may work to win your affections?
I think it wouldn't count. It's
Yeah.
not what you spend, it's who you are and what you represent. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before we get into our sort of money story or get truly into your story of understanding, I know as of 2 years ago, you were worth 150 million. I don't know how much that's increased right now. But before we get into that space, I wanted to ask, based off of the recent meeting that you had with the former vice president, how do some of those, and this is from a social perspective, how do some of those meetings go where you've come from being adversaries and then now you're sort of sitting and you're chatting? Is it just, hey, how you doing? And the conversation just continues from there?
Exactly.
Yeah. You don't hold...
I mean, it's not as though we had an issue
Yeah.
between us. It's just that when they got into power, it's the way he was talking, bad-mouthing everyone. So it's not any big deal.
So it's not something you hold personally?
No,
and
it's not anything you sit down to say, I
Clear the
did
air
this,
first.
I did that.
Yeah.
It's just getting on with it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
yeah.
Now to get into your money story,
Yeah,
right? So from, I think, the different things that I've watched and read and understanding, do you think that you grew up in, at the time, a relatively affluent home? Because your dad had a car, I guess from, I think you said from when you can remember, he had always
Yeah,
had a car.
yeah.
So do you think that you grew up in an affluent home?
Not affluent. I wouldn't call it affluent, but I would say slightly better off than most around us because he was teaching. My mom was doing home and keeping a shop. That relatively, those days in the village, that was relatively, you had more comfort than most.
Yeah.
But I lived life similar to any other kid, even if they didn't have a tin roof. You know, they went to the shamba, I went. They fetched water, I did. Life was the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think you took from your parents, whether directly or indirectly, about money? What lessons do you think you potentially took from your parents around money?
Prioritizing the needs of the family, that I took from them. Yeah.
Okay.
Ensuring that you have shelter, those little things. Yeah.
That's what you saw. That's what
Yeah.
you saw. Okay.
Yeah.
And also, again, from the book and this previous stuff that you've recorded, you start earning money immediately after secondary school, right?
Yeah,
When you
yeah.
start working and teaching.
As an untrained teacher.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think when I did the calculation based on inflation, it would be the equivalent of about 20-something thousand today, right? Based off of inflation of what you were earning at the time.
270.
270 shillings then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying based on inflation right now, it
Yeah.
would be worth about 24,000 shillings when I did
Maybe.
the calculation. When you first got your first
My
salaries
first
or your first,
paycheck.
what are the kind of things that you were thinking about?
Do you know, I had no idea about money or value for it. I remember my uncle who was in university meeting me at Kerogoya. We were being paid in cash at the DC's office. I've just collected my 270. I'm holding it in my hands. And I'm getting 270 because they've employed me with my Kenya Junior Secondary Certificate. This is before the O-levels are out. So I get my 270. I meet my uncle and he asks me for 20 shillings, which is a good chunk of my money.
Yeah.
And I just give him. If he had asked for 50, I would just have given him. So he takes 20 and I'm left with 250. And I've come with my younger brother who was in secondary school and off we go to Embu. I buy him a pair of shoes. I buy myself. I buy other things. I bought things, went home. The sad thing, I did not even think that I could buy a kilo of sugar for my mother or handkerchiefs for him. We
Yeah.
just bought things for me and my brother and we went
And
home.
that was it. And none of your other siblings who weren't there either. You didn't
They were
consider
not there. They were in school.
Mm.
Yeah. And, they were not lacking
Out of
anything.
mind,
So I
yes.
did not even think of gifting them.
Yeah.
That's my first paycheck. I did not think of saving at all.
Yeah.
But I think the second paycheck now, we are about to go to A levels. I actually bought a suitcase, a very lovely suitcase,
Yeah.
which I went with for A levels.
Okay.
And then when I got arrears, because when the O levels came out, there were arrears now for the 3 months I had taught, being paid 270. They paid me an arrears. I can only remember the amount. It was around 680. Those days, people were honest. There weren't cases of theft or false pretenses. So my father goes to the DC's office and signs my money for me, and he is given.
Yeah.
Today, not even a parent can sign for you because of the fraud that is there.
Yes.
Then my mother brings the money, the total, 680 to me at Nairobi Girls.
Did your parents not feel any? Because sometimes, especially when you're much younger and you're earning money, sometimes parents feel like a portion of it belongs to me, or a
No,
portion
they
of it.
didn't ask for a thing, nor did they. It's like my dad was just happy that I was advancing in my education. So they bring me the money. And remember, I'd already been given some pocket money.
Yes.
And then during the school exit, I bought myself such a big watch, bigger than my wrist almost, at Timex, somewhere at Duruduri Avenue, for 200 something. Then I went to Biashara Street and bought myself clothes and to other streets in town, taken by my schoolmates. And of course, I treated them to chips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I just used my whole money on myself.
Yeah.
You're earning for the first time and you're only thinking of yourself.
Okay.
And no financial literacy to tell me, since I don't need these things, you're just buying extras because you are in school. I have clothes for school. I'm spending all my time in uniform, but I just had money. And it's like I had an obligation to spend it, and I spent it. I even bought shoes, pumps,
Yeah.
bell bottom, a shirt, all those things.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, and at the time, I don't know if you'd be able to remember, but at the time, do you remember what financial options were there? If like right now, I guess people will say, go to the bank or put your money here, or put your money there. Were you made aware of any
I've heard
potential
of
options?
financial options in my adult life.
Yeah.
So whatever financial literacy I have is from observing. Like I told you, my parents prioritize the family.
Yes.
So I start earning. I'm prioritizing myself and my family. Like my siblings who are behind me needed to study courses and all that, housing them and catering for them here in town.
Yeah.
Things like that. And then when I start a family, catering for my family.
Yeah.
And taking a mortgage and paying it back.
Yeah.
But if I had financial literacy, maybe I could have done more financial literacy. I could have done more.
Yeah, than
Yeah.
you have currently.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So I guess at that point in time, you're sort of at your A levels, do your A levels, and you finish. And I know again from the book, you talk about having an experience with your father and meeting a judge and saying you wanted to become a magistrate.
Yeah.
So were there any
A judge. Locally, nobody is called a magistrate.
Magistrate, yes.
Judge.
So did you there was again with that and the career path you want to take, there was no financial consideration at all?
No, in fact, you would be horrified to learn that my first paycheck from the judiciary after tax was 2,800. Was it 2,600 something, like 650, 2650.
And that was now when the first, I guess, when you were posted.
Yeah, in 81.
Right.
Yeah.
And I guess that sort of jumped a bit forward, but yeah, so
My
there's no
father
financial
was earning more than me as
a
a teacher. And without as much education as
you
I
had.
had. Actually, he was like, what? This can't be, I can't be earning more than you without that education. Yeah.
Was it a disappointment for you in that sense?
Not really, because it's not as though you've earned before. And it was enough. I shared a house with a friend of mine who is now a judge. I will not name her. And we were each paying 1,200. We were staying at Golf Course. It was a fairly new estate then, very clean, very nice. So we shared a house. We each paid 12. The house was for 26. So I'm left with 1,200, or rather 14.
Yeah.
I'm still able to buy a new outfit. I could remember those days, new outfits could be like for 600. So you pay in 2 installments, you see? And I'm left money for the bus and for the house.
And that was
But
it.
you can't save, not
Yeah.
in those circumstances. The
Yeah.
money would just be enough, barely enough.
To just, I guess, keep you going.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, I guess from then on, you then transition and you run, once your family sort of pushes you and you accept, and then you run for member of parliament, right?
Before then, I go into private practice because I realize my salary cannot help me to cater fully for my family or to contribute
For your family.
effectively to my family.
Okay.
So I went into private practice, and then I also started my life as a single parent.
Yes.
Yeah, because I left marriage
Your
and
marriage,
went
yeah.
into whatever. And I was now able to cater for myself fully out
Yeah.
of practice. In
Interesting.
one case,
yeah.
I could earn more than I was earning in a month. Yeah.
Was that so? Even as you were making the consideration, did people bring up to you the fact that you'd be leaving serving the nation, so to speak, service over commercial gain?
No, because you don't discuss with somebody. You discuss with yourself.
Yeah.
And you make the decision.
And you leave it
So
there.
even my parents, I'm just telling them I'll be starting private
Private
practice.
practice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So by the time you're now in private practice, do you remember how much now, on average you'd be making per month times of X of what you were making before as a magistrate?
Many times. I can't tell you how many, because even
Yeah.
when the accounts were done is when you say, because it's coming, you're earning,
Yes.
it's coming, you're using.
Yes.
You see? Or the one that is coming to your office account, you're using it. You see? So I just had money. I was able to do my things.
Yeah.
I was highly mortgaged. All my furniture was out on hire purchase. I had a car on hire purchase, and I have a house to pay at the end of the month. So you're just comfortable. Yeah, that's it.
And at that point in time, and maybe just to, again, reference from information I've gotten from the book, with regard to your marriage, you leave, come back, and then leave. And
No, by the time I go to practice, I've left for real.
You've left for
Yeah,
you've left
yeah,
for
yeah,
real.
yeah.
Okay, so maybe to bring back to that period where you leave and come back and leave, are there any financial considerations at all? Because of course, by the mathematical sense, two incomes is better than one or easier than one. Do you have any
No,
considerations like that at all?
It's the failure to my employer to quickly give me accommodation, a house, So making me destitute. Because now you'll not be able to get a house alone. Remember when I was able to get a house, I could appreciate it when I was sharing.
Yes.
Now you have a child you don't want to share.
Yes.
And that amount cannot get you. So you are pushed to a corner to accept to go back while you prepare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at no point whatsoever did you ever step back in fear or step out in fear of your ability to earn as a...
Ability I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, you must believe in yourself. You must be your best cheerleader.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have I had education. And remember, unlike today, our young professionals are coming out to find a saturated market. The market was not saturated. As a lawyer, you open an office and the
People
next day
are
you have clients.
Yeah.
Today, there are so many,
So you think the economical factor sort of helped?
Yeah. The environment was totally different. Yeah.
Maybe to get your perspective from a legal perspective and also sort of where you've come from. I was also raised by a single mom, but I'm just curious, what are your thoughts on prenups? And I know we haven't really accepted them in our market here. What are your thoughts on prenups and matrimonial property in that sense?
I think people should have prenups.
Yeah.
Yeah. To avoid a tussle should there be need.
Yeah.
And in Kenya, we've had to fight so hard to even get recognition that women deserve a share. Because the average woman, especially those days, will get married. The salary will be controlled by the husband. If they buy property, it will be put in the husband's name. Very few were putting it jointly. I used to be a family lawyer. And I know as a matter of fact that my mom's age mate and even my own age mate, most of the things will be in the man's name, not even in joint.
Yeah.
So now trying to tell the court to understand that you two were earning And if you spent on the household where he acquired property, you are relieving of a burden he would otherwise have had to bear.
Yeah.
If you're paying for the children, if you're a housewife and you're raising the children, you're making a home for the both of you and for
Yes.
your children.
Yes.
So proving indirect and direct contribution,
Yeah.
you know? So prenups save you all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're of the camp that it does not make
doesn't
the,
hurt.
make the love any less. It doesn't mean I love
No.
you any less or,
No.
or anything of that nature.
It's just preparing. Yeah.
For the
And
worst
if
case.
not, agreeing that everything you acquire will be in joint names. Just that.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't have prenups, please acquire in joint names always.
So that
And it's not just about not trusting each other. Imagine if any one of you goes before the other people may come to claim, relatives, you know?
yeah.
So just put it in joint names and that's it.
Okay.
And if for the man you have affairs and you have children out there, they also
They'll
come to claim.
the same
Yeah,
properties to be able
yeah.
to
At
claim.
least let some be yours.
and keep
Yeah,
for
yeah,
yourself.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess moving on now into the period when you're in private practice. You said you're living comfortably, you're able to make enough money, you have multiple assets on hire purchase, but you're fine at that point in time. And so you get into, I guess, politics. Get into you run for member of parliament. How much did it cost you at that time, if you can remember, to run for MP?
I never really kept books, but I can tell you roughly, because I tried to count backwards after that election,
Yeah.
roughly about 600,000,
At that time.
which I didn't have.
Yeah.
And 600,000 is the last 3 weeks. But you see, you've been on campaign trail the whole year. The whole of when were we elected? 92. The whole of 1992 until December when the elections, I'm on a campaign trail, going to the constituency, doing harambes, all those things.
Yeah.
And I was supported by my fellow professionals and friends. I would spread cards, harambe invitation to about 20 people. They'll each give me 500 shillings. That's 10,000. I contribute the petrol to go to the constituency and back.
Okay.
So it was easy. And professional colleagues were generous, and the economy was not
as it is.
as it is.
Yeah.
It was a relaxed, growing economy. So people are doing relatively well. So with that support, I was able to campaign the whole year. And towards the end of it, a few friends, mainly women, contributing towards my campaign, people giving in kind, giving their vehicle, giving their time, youth in the constituency. You know, we don't normally sit down to value the indirect contribution. So when I say 600, it's the actual money
Cash contribution.
spent.
Yeah.
But there was much more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's the volunteers and
Yeah.
all of that,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
coordination. Okay. If I'm to sort of fast forward a little bit, how much does it cost now to run, whether it's based on the MP, I guess would be based on what your educated guess would be, but how much would it cost to run an MP campaign as a governor and as a president?
I really cannot tell you that I have done a budget for it. You actually sometimes move with what is there. You campaign with, I believe in using what I have, not what I don't have. So as much as I will fundraise is the amount I will spend.
Okay.
I can't sit and say I need 100 million for governor.
Yeah.
I will sit and see how much I can raise and spend it as I raise, and spend it absolutely efficiently.
Yeah.
And I'll be able to compete you with your millions. And I've competed against people with a lot of money.
Yes.
And
Come out.
being able to floor them.
Yeah.
You see? So I'll not put a price. It is prudent that everybody spends on what they get, on what they have. And it's also important that as Kenyans, we take people away from transactional politics, where youth, women and men will expect you to gift them with money. It should be the way it used to be when I first ran, that you just talk to people. The only money you spend is money to hold meetings, and those meetings is just the microphone, the hire of the equipment, the seats, those logistics. My early campaigns, I never even hired vehicles to transport people. And I've never hired vehicles to transport people, even later days. People bring themselves to the meetings.
Yeah.
We must discuss with people. Campaigning is like a water project. It's a community project. I'm not campaigning to gain as a person. And if the view of the electorate is that I'm going to gain, they're giving me a blank check
Yeah.
to abuse their resources. Yes, I'll be on salary, but it is in the interest of the community to elect the best candidate available.
Yeah.
So it's a joint project.
Yeah.
The person running and the people supporting.
Yeah.
And if we look at it that way, then one will know that if you're part of a water project in your area or an electricity or road project, you don't expect money from the project. It's you who gives your time and money to the project.
Yeah.
That's the new language now of politics.
That you want to speak.
We
Okay.
cannot allow that politics of dishing out money.
Yeah.
Otherwise, then it's like voting for the people who have stolen all the money and can splash it on the people. We must have that conversation, especially this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
How much do you think that those donations inflate budgets? Like by what percent? Do you think, in whatever someone's budget is, like 30% is now going purely to these donations or to these handouts?
To corruption.
Yeah.
We've already got it from the Auditor General
Yeah.
that we lose a third of the budget. So if it's $1 trillion budget, you're talking about $1 trillion.
Yeah.
Mind-boggling money, which could fund education, which could fund health. When I and Raila said that we were going to have universal health care, cradle to grave, we were going to have free education from ECD to university. It is doable. Look at how much money we waste.
Yeah.
And you've not even touched the wastage of money allocated to education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I'm to pull you back, I guess we've talked about campaigning and what that money looks like. So when you get into, do you know what your first salary was as a member of parliament?
Yeah. 19,000 some hundreds. It was shy of 20,000.
Yeah.
The basic salary for a member of parliament in 1993 January, that's when I entered parliament,
Yeah.
was 5,000 shillings.
The basic salary.
After the lavish allowances of that time, it came to 19,000 something. You can see the allowances are like 3 times the salary.
Yes.
Yeah, so my pay slip was 19 something. And then, of course, you get the deductions from help.
Yes.
Because we got deducted, but I didn't know until 2 or 3 when we entered government.
Yes.
And help was calling for those who had not paid. So I called them telling them I haven't paid. And they told me, no, we actually owe you 3,000 shillings.
Yes.
You overpaid.
Yeah.
And they told me all that time as a magistrate, as an MP, they were deducting. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you remember what because I believe you said the money still wasn't enough to keep your family afloat,
Yeah.
so you kept your private practice,
Yeah.
right? And I want to talk a little bit about the transformation that happens for parliamentary remuneration that moves you to the point where you can retire the private practice. Yeah.
Yes, we went in stages. The first 5 years, our money was added to 50,000 to 70,000. By the end of the first term, we were on 100 something already. I had by then taken a mortgage, and payment of my mortgage was 120 per month, more than the parliamentary salary. But I had kept my practice. So my books of account, together with my pay slip, convinced HFCK to give me a mortgage of 5 million.
Okay.
And I was able, together with the money, I was able to pay upfront from my cooperatives. You gather money to pay the deposit.
Yeah.
I was able now to buy the house I still live in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was the first term increment, right?
Yeah.
To get you to 100.
Yeah.
Then there's more. I don't know if you're able to get us to the journey where I guess it gets to the point where you're fine and you say,
The
I don't need...
second term, because we went into the government after the second term, by the end of the second term, by the time we are passing the Oloaringo bill, we are on something like 350. So we are still getting more and more.
Right.
And Parliament had this bad habit of adding itself. So we had added ourselves to that amount. And the Oloaringo Commission comes and they say our salary now for the next, because you do not add salary for a
your
sitting parliament, you add for the next, was going to be a certain amount, 600.
Yeah.
We were required to become full-time members of parliament. So people with private business like myself were too close. I actually faithfully closed my practice because 600 was enough to live on.
Yeah.
And there were allowances. And this time I've become a minister, so I've got some money on top of that for responsibility of being a minister.
Yes.
And we have allowances.
Yeah.
So that's how I closed my practice now to become a full-time worker of the people. But Parliament never enforced, while enforcing the money, they never enforced the requirement that parliamentarians be full-time.
Yeah.
And this has now deteriorated to where parliamentarians are actually tenderpreneurs, quite a majority of them.
Yeah.
So that you'll not even see people attending even when there is critical debate. They're busy chasing tenders. It means the watchdog role is diluted. Yeah.
And what's the I mean, it may seem like a very foolish or stupid question, but why haven't they implemented the ethical elements that comes?
I have no idea. I have no idea at all. All I know is that all the time I served, especially from 2003 when I was a minister to the time I left, I opposed any motion for self-increment until one time members were plotting and going to the speaker that in order for the money, for the increment to pass, I need to be sent on a trip.
Yes.
I happen not to be very excited about trips, especially when there is important work.
Yes.
So I'll decline the trip.
And
what I know is that at one time we were able to completely thwart those increments. Members started by getting incensed and insulting me for opposing. Then I remember Peter Munya comes in, he was an assistant minister that time, and he also immediately starts opposing. Leighton Kaiseri comes in and starts opposing. You know, these things, when people speak about it and speak boldly, those who are pushing it immediately melt. And at the end of the day, we won. And that particular increment, they were not able to put it up. Yeah.
Okay.
Not that I don't want money.
Yes.
But if we are there to protect the people, we have to be able to remember that we are there in the first place, courtesy of the people and for them, not just for ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
And at that time, because of course at that time you had to be an MP in order to even be a minister, what was the additional increment if you got a ministerial role?
There were several allowances, but one of them was 200,000 responsibility allowance.
Okay.
Then you get an amount of money to hire a cook, a what. It means your domestic staff are being paid.
Yeah.
Then I have a car, a ministerial car, which is fueled and serviced by the government.
Yes.
Meaning I'm not using my car
personal
as
car
much.
at all. Yeah.
You see? If I go with the ministerial car to the constituency, then I don't claim mileage. And that's what would happen, because you don't want to be caught up. When did you go with the car? When did you not? Yeah.
Okay. And so at this point in time, I mean, it seems like you're in a really good place in your career, right? In terms of the money you're making, the things, the changes you're able to implement. What, from a life perspective, are you looking to do with your money? I mean, you've talked about the mortgage you've taken and the house that you still live in today.
Yeah.
Are there anything else that you're exploring at the time?
No. I didn't feel the pressure to acquire.
Yeah.
And I just became more generous with my constituents. I'm doing 2 harambes where I'm giving them a personal check of 200,000 each. So 400,000 is going back to the constituents. I'm sharing my salary with them.
Yes.
And it went on like that until 2011, when we had passed the Public Officers Ethics Act, and I said, I'm doing no more Harambe. Yeah.
And you said
Yeah,
after the act, you said
and
no
then
more.
I was campaigning for presidency, so I still need my money for many things.
Right.
But the increment, I didn't see it as an opportunity to save. I'm educating my children in private schools. Some are going to university, they're going out, and I'm also sharing the money with the constituency.
So
with the
are you
constituents.
at that time? Are you living proverbially hand to mouth? Do you have an emergency savings or anything like that, or is it the money that's coming in? I am using it. The next
My
month money is coming
emergency
in.
has always been my cooperative.
Okay.
Yeah,
right.
because if you have your savings in a cooperative, you have emergency money.
Right.
So I wasn't overthinking to have
If
a
things-
kitty. Yeah, but I would not recommend that people live the way I did. A little more literacy will get you, even as you share with your constituents. If it was today now, I would save a fixed amount also for myself. Yeah,
So it wouldn't just have been the circle.
yeah, yeah.
And then I hear from my father-in-law that, at the point in time when circle interest rates were, I think, was it 4%? I think he's told me about 4%.
Yeah, or 6.
It was, or whatever, before it
The
got to where
highest,
it,
the highest was 6.
yeah, before it got to where it was now. That
I
a
even
lot of,
don't know where it is because I'm no longer a cooperator.
right, anyway, then I'll
Not
just
that
move on
I
that
don't
question.
admire cooperatives.
Yeah.
They're still my thing. It's just that when you're now not on a salary, you sometimes get out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess during this period, like you said, you're comfortable. You're paying for private school for your kids. You're sharing your salary with your constituents
And
as
living
well.
well.
And living well in the process.
Yeah.
What would you say would be the next big transition for your financial journey thereafter?
Is that after the 2013 presidential run, I'm out. I'm also out of parliament.
Actually, before you get there, maybe I can ask about when you resigned.
Yeah.
Because in the book you said that
It's
there
like
were
half your pay has
implications,
gone.
yes, because you said you had to call your children and they were not, you felt like they didn't even fully know.
Yeah, because you got to let them know something major is happening.
Yeah.
For me, it wasn't the financial. It's for them to know I'm out of government. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because they need to know. But the
Okay.
implications are that you lose money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Using your car means, even though there is mileage, imagine there is no mileage for around Nairobi.
Right.
So you are losing. And you have to pay your driver now.
Yeah.
Driver is not being paid for you. You have to pay your house staff. So I sort of like lost half the pay.
Okay.
Not to mention the power and privilege.
That came with being a minister of justice.
No, that I missed it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then a question on, I guess, the way that the system was before in terms of member of parliament and then minister vis-a-vis now where it's CS is separate, MP separate. Do you think, which one makes more financial sense, strictly speaking, based on the fact that you're saying if you are an MP and then you become a minister, you're getting an incremental 200,000 plus a few other allowances, vis-a-vis now where there's 2 full salaries that the state has to pay for a CS and an MP?
That would not be my focus. If we are losing 1/3 of the budget,
Yes.
the fact that we have a presidential system where you have technocrats as ministers is not why we are in the place we are in. It's outright theft, misapplication of funds, all those things. So better we seal the leakage. I don't want to question or to focus on saying that because if you employed an MP, you'd only add a little. If you employed an MP who cannot even sit on their desk, if they're tenderpreneurs, because today even ministers are tenderpreneurs, you don't get anything. You're just going to in circles because they'll be wasting your money. You're just giving them an opportunity for rent seeking. Yeah, so it's not the fact of having ministers as technocrats. That is the problem. Our problem is not being able to follow the rules we set for ourselves.
Yeah. So it's really, I mean, financially, it's really neither here nor there. Kenya can afford it,
it's a
technically
very small
speaking.
portion.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you were back to telling us about how now 2013 after the presidential race, you're out. So financially, how are you getting on at that period?
I'm a pensioner even today.
Yes.
Yeah. But by that time, I don't have anybody in school. My kids are finished. So I'm not taking anybody to school. My house is not on mortgage. For a while, I didn't do anything else. And I get my pension. I'm doing a few things with it. I did not have pressure to look for money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
And after some time, maybe 2 or 3 years, I started doing a bit of consulting. It's also good. It keeps your head working.
Yes.
Because if you don't keep yourself active, then you can deteriorate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I rested well. I was playing golf, doing what? And then a little bit of consultancy here and there.
Okay.
Yeah, which is the same even as today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt financial pressures, other than the very beginning, when, I guess the salary you were getting from the magistrates wasn't enough and you actually changed careers into private practice because of financial pressures? Have you felt financial pressures in any other?
Yes, but not in a very big way, but just feeling pressure that I could do with a little more money. And that's why I started consulting. Yeah. Yeah, you consult here and there to get just a little money. And then COVID came with its own gifts because you now could attend court seated in your living room or in your study. And I did a bit of consultancy.
In that period as well.
Yeah, and a bit of court. Yeah.
What's been your favorite financial memory? This can be either childhood, adulthood.
Financial memory?
Yeah. Your favorite memory with regard to money?
Like going to buy myself that watch, which was,
Yes,
radius
bigger than your
was
wrist.
bigger than my wrist. It was a Timex, by the way,
Yeah.
because you can't forget the first thing you buy for yourself.
Yeah.
And I can't forget that that I went to Abdallah Fasal on Tubman Road and got myself 1 or 2 things. So I have that memory of that arrears. It's good. The memory of being able to buy my first brand new car, a Mercedes E200, with money assembled from cooperative loan from Parliament. You put those two together and you get a brand new car from the showroom.
Yeah.
That's a good memory.
Yeah.
My memory of being able to take a mortgage and move to a house I'm calling mine, although it's on mortgage. Good memory.
Yeah.
So all those things.
Okay. Do you think, I guess the way that you've lived and been able to accumulate wealth and get to where you're going, because you said you could have done, if you had a lot more financial literacy, you could
Yeah.
have done a lot more.
Yeah.
Do you think yours is even then is still an average story, or it's above average in terms of the things you've been able to achieve?
I don't think it's above average, really. It's not.
You think if anybody was put in the positions that you were put in,
They might have
they should
gotten
be
more.
able to get.
Yeah, in fact, one of the things, there's a time I was practicing and a client paid me and another lawyer in kind, a piece of land. I had no use for it and I almost gave it away. But my son was like, no, you can't. We must keep this. It ended up being quite valuable. Yeah, so him without much literacy somehow was glued to it, and me, I'm almost
like, just-
throwing it away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it depends on your focus also as a person. I haven't been very focused on accumulating.
Yeah.
And I'd actually said, I remember saying to myself and to friends immediately I left school that I wouldn't want to be a landlord. I just want a house to live in.
And that's it.
I don't want to be a landlord to anyone. So you are almost telling yourself you don't want to get more. Yeah. And what you profess is what happens.
Do you
Yeah.
regret it at all in any way?
Not really. Yeah.
It's okay, and maybe regret is a strong word, but
Yeah.
do you have any thoughts of, I could have done more and I should have done more?
I think being able to educate your children, to have shelter, and to generally live within your means is good enough. I have no regrets. Because perhaps if I had chased money, I would not have gone to where I
Where you
went.
got to.
I would have not, my story may be different.
Yeah.
I'm quite happy
Okay.
with where I am. Yeah. And there's still time to make money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yes, of course.
I've read a story of Dr. V of Aravid Eye Center who made money after he retired. by getting that eye hospital, a famous hospital in India. And what about this guy, Kano, somebody of KFTC?
I'm not sure what that is, but
Kentucky Fried Chicken.
yes.
Yeah.
KFC,
is the
sorry,
T that
yes.
confused you. Now,
yeah.
you look at that. So if the thing is just to make money, for the sake of it, I can make
can
it
make
even
it.
now.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'm still busy chasing to see a better organized Kenya.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Before-
that has been my calling.
before the money.
Yeah, not
Okay.
money. Yeah.
So maybe I guess as we sort of get into a wrap-up period of the investments or the ways that you can share with us the different places that you've put your money in that have come really good for you, whether in times of need. I know you've mentioned cooperatives.
Yeah.
You've mentioned the house that you've bought. You've just now mentioned a piece of land that you were paid in kind.
Yeah.
Is there any other place that you've looked at
I once
put your
tried
money in?
unit trusts, and then the market collapsed after the 2007 violence. And I called my money before the markets woke up, so I got banned. So a first bad experience. I've tried also the money market, the stock exchange. But I tried again the tail end because there's a period during the Kibaki era that the stock exchange really earned people money. I missed that as well. And, buying of shares. Yeah. I know people who made quite a bit of money.
in that period?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about losing money? Have you lost money in?
See, I've just told
No, there's
you
this one that you've
I lost that one, and it left a very bad taste
in your
my
mouth.
mouth.
What
Yeah.
about in other sort of con-like ways? Have you been conned of any money? Because that one is just an investment going south, so to speak.
No, I haven't been conned. You have to be dreaming and thinking of money and wanting it so much that you can fall for that con story. I haven't had that drive
Yeah.
to look for money like in a way that you can con me.
Yeah.
No.
Interesting.
If you come with a story about how it will multiply, I will wonder why you're not multiplying for yourself and your friends first.
Rather than
And why
coming to
you
us.
need to help me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you should be telling me where you are and how well you have done.
Yeah.
That is what would attract me. Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't been conned.
There's a question I actually had for you based off of your time as Minister of Water. And again, it's a thing that you reference in your book around, I believe it was a French company that wanted to control water in...
Vivendi, yeah.
Yes, and you were like, and you tell them no, and then there was a German company in Malindi that had a 1-year contract, I believe, and you wanted it to lapse. So I guess my question there from a government policy perspective is, how difficult is it, or from your experience, for people to not accept, like this French company to come and run water, and you say, no, we'll figure the solutions out for ourselves and be able to make it work?
Independence is a state of mind more than anything else. If we always defer to others without asking questions, how will that serve you? So when an ambassador comes to me inquiring about a company from their country, he's doing his duty. What is my duty as a minister? My duty is to the people of Kenya to get them the best deal. And the best deal is self-reliance. Because the water study options by the World Bank showed we have the requisite personnel. We have enough technical people. All we needed to deal with was corruption, governance. And that was my mission as a minister.
Yeah.
And the Kibaki government came in with zero tolerance to corruption. So it was up to me to live that reality, to give people of Nairobi and of Kenya clean drinking water, what they call potable water for household use. So how would I accept somebody to tell me that a company from France comes and runs water in Nairobi? Then what do we do? Probably then we need a French minister and a French mayor, because those days we had mayors.
Yeah.
If we can't fix small things, then what would I be there for?
Yeah.
I just told him, sorry, no. We got this, and we did it.
Yeah, and you figured it out.
Yeah.
I mean, and maybe this is a bit of an ignorant question, and maybe I am a little ignorant, but how many of those kinds of, like the French deal you've talked about,
Yeah.
how many of those kinds of deals exist in our ecosystem where we have foreign companies, foreign whatevers running our...
Many people go for those foreign companies, not because they offer anything better, but because they feel more comfortable sometimes to do shady deals with them. Where you can't ask a Kenyan company for a bribe, you go ask, build in a project that has your money in it.
Yeah.
And even if it was an honest deal, what about the jobs issue? We are training engineers, hydrologists here in Kenya every day.
Yeah.
What will be their work if it's the French who are coming to do that? What about our technicians? If the French run water in Paris and in Nairobi, then what are we left with? That's why my answer was, if I'm not doing water in Paris,
Then
no Frenchman
I'm
does
going to do
water in
here.
Nairobi. Yeah, it's
Okay.
simple.
Yeah.
We fast.
Yeah.
And even God's commandments say, love thy neighbor
you love
as
thyself.
thyself. Without self-love, you can't even be able to love others. So we got to have self-love as Kenyans. Independence is not just the flag Munyao raised
Yeah.
in 1963. It's your mind.
Yeah.
Free yourself from all those.
Okay.
Love yourself and let us put ourselves first. We matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. My last question is, and again, I'm going to draw it from the experience of reading your book and even the title, Against the Tide. I mean, it seems like a lot of things weren't easy. You were up against it. One, as being female in a very patriarchal society, as a single mom, and the way, again, society looks at a single mom, and you're essentially raising your family on your own. How difficult was it to get, to this other side where you are now? And I mean, how difficult in the sense of, were there nights or days where you're honestly, you have to pull yourself together and it's almost like, this is really, really difficult. And I can imagine being a political figure and in leadership, you cannot, people don't want to show weakness, and you'll come up and you'll be the persona that you are and the persona that you play in the leadership space. This, I guess, I'm asking from a more personal perspective. How challenging was it?
I'll say yes and no, because even when I felt like I didn't want to run again after the first term, it has nothing to do with me being a woman. It had something to do with how the Moi government was frustrating us as opposition. It's looking back and seeing what have we achieved in 5 years. Almost nothing. But when we did the IPPG deal that got the country out of the crisis, and we went to elections, I felt we had done something that could now justify my running for a second term. And the way not to feel, because we must not play victim. Yes, there were hurdles put on the way because of my gender, but the way I look at it is getting a solution. How do I surmount those hurdles? Once I've gotten that in my mind, then it's up to me to keep going. And that's what I have done throughout my life, to keep going.
So are there no down days? Are there no days where you felt like the burden is too much, or it's a lot and everything that you're doing is weighing on you? You've not had those
For
kinds
me,
of days?
the burden comes when I have not worked out the solution. Once I work out the solution, how I am going to surmount whatever hurdle has come, I'm like a person who's been freed, and I'll go for it. And therefore, I will keep coming back because there's always a solution to something. I'll be down, but not out.
Yeah.
And I'll keep coming back. Yeah. And that's me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on Financially Incorrect. Thank you for giving us the details and just the figures and how sort of Parliament works and politics and the money that's in there and your personal story, a little bit of it as well. Thanks for coming on to Financially Incorrect. I'm sure we can have you another time when we have a bit more time to have this discussion. But thank you so much for coming. And for our viewers, we'll see you guys next week, next Friday, on the next episode of Financially Incorrect.
Thank you. And I'll only come back on condition you give me 15 minutes of financial literacy. It will be quid pro quo.
All right.